So I'm going to talk about embracing innovation, and I want to talk about it from a very friendly peer-to-peer perspective, because I find myself speaking to myself oftentimes, especially when it comes to innovation. So consider this an interaction, a conversation about innovation. This is not just me talking to an audience, it is us having a conversation. And I will encourage you, please, to take notes and open up to share from time to time your own insights, especially at the end of we're going to have the Q&A session, you know. So I call this Embracing Innovation, and I'm sharing insights from a partner in progress. Innovation drives progress, just like the chairman mentioned earlier. There's hardly any worthy progress or known to man that does not involve some form of innovation. And innovative ideas are transformative in nature. They tend to bring about significant progress or changes. And they usually come from dreams of individuals, not too different from you and I here. So if you need to or you desire to make something great, to bring about significant progress, then you should embrace innovation. Embracing innovation is key. And what does it mean to embrace innovation? First of all, you need to understand what innovation is. It is much deeper than what the word just says. It's not just about inventing new things. It's actually about seeing the world differently, seeing possibilities, seeing what things should be rather than what they are. It's about challenging the status quo, asking questions, the right kind of questions, and then thinking beyond boundaries. Most of the hallmarks of major inventions in the world, major transformational progress have been recorded by people who dared to challenge the status quo, who dared to think outside the box. And there's one thing that's always been true about innovation, and that's creativity. Creativity, it's actually a vital ingredient, in innovation. And this is something that you all agree we have been born with in one form or the other. I'm sure you've heard cases of people saying that adults kill creativity in children. Why? Because children exemplify creativity more than most of us. So perhaps we should consider connecting with our inner child. And one of the things that make children really creative is because they're curious. And curiosity is also a very, very important quality to have to drive innovation. If you really want to embrace innovation, then you need to play up your curiosity. And you shouldn't shy away from it. You shouldn't be ashamed of it, because it is actually at the foundation of innovation. It drives exploration and questioning the status quo. It leads to new knowledge. Without curiosity, then you're going to be stagnant. We are all going to be stagnant. We're going to accept things as they are, accept things as we are told to accept them. And then we need to be continually curious, not just, it needs to be a habit. To embrace innovation, we need to make curiosity a habit. And how do we do that? We need to explore, engage with different subjects. I don't know about you, but I love to learn on a regular basis on different subjects, not necessarily things that I've been trained to do. Out of curiosity, I would like to know what it feels like to see things from the perspective of a historian, for example, or a geologist, even though I'm not one, or a medical doctor, or a surgeon. If you go into their world, it is as vast and as real as your own world. It is as true and as factual as yours. And you'll soon find out that there's no limit to what any one person can know. In fact, it's almost impossible for any one person to know everything, which is why innovation actually comes in, because it can help you to leverage the knowledge of others. And that's where things like networking come into play. You're now harnessing the knowledge of the collective rather than individual knowledge. When you learn to speak the language of others, it means you're learning to step into their own shoes and to understand their perspectives, to see things their own way. It's not limiting, it's actually liberating. Thinking outside the box is not just about thinking outside your own box. It's about thinking what others are seeing so that you could jump out of their own box as well. And then you can expose yourself to those different viewpoints. And then it enables you to begin to generate new ideas and begin to see them and then begin to appreciate them. The truth is, when your mind is well trained for innovation, when you see something innovative, it jumps at you. You may not be able to know what something is right at the go, but the moment you see something that's extraordinary, even though you don't fully understand it, you'll know you're onto something. And that is also one of the signs of good innovators. They have this ability to instinctively see something as different, worthy of pursuing further. One of the qualities also that you need to embrace innovation is to learn to embrace failure as a learning opportunity. Failure is a stepping stone. It's not an end in itself, but it's a very, very good path to success. Think about all the achievements that we've had today. And think of all the people who have made serious sacrifices to get us where we are today. I mean, we hear stories of the light bulb, for example, and the many, many attempts that Thomas Edison had to make in their thousands. We're praising him today because we have the light bulb. There are so many others who weren't that quite lucky. I mean, like they didn't make the equivalent of a light bulb. But trust me, they contributed in one way or another towards the progress by way of their knowledge, by way of their failures. And they have faced great failures. So one of the things we must learn to embrace is those failures. We should do them, and we should do lots of them, and we should do them fast, and we should fail forward. And then we should learn from them. That's the whole point. If your failure doesn't count for something, then it's wasted. So we should make our failures count. View setbacks as learning opportunities. Analyze what went wrong. Adjust your approach. Try again. And the more you do that, the more you become innovation material. We have examples of lots of people like that today. Well, I wouldn't say lots of, because the prominent ones are not so many. But we know them today because of the records they have to show. I mean, like we know about the Apples, and the Teslas, and their founders. Their names are household names today. You know, the truth is, if you sit down with them, you'll find out that they did more, they failed more than they succeeded. That's one thing that is usually common. And you often hear about them because that 1%, the hit out of the 99 misses, is so significant that it's newsworthy. And to be honest, I don't think anyone can make it that 1% without embracing failure as a habit, as a norm. And when you do that, you cultivate resilience, because for you to see failure as normal, then you would learn to embrace it and accept it and suffer to actually intentionally suffer through the process. And that's not normal for a lot of people. That's not natural for a lot of human beings. But even nature has lots of examples for us in that regard. I don't know, I used to give this example to anyone that cares to listen, that most of the living things that you see today are the exception, they're not the rule. Over 99% of all living things that ever roamed the earth have gone extinct. If you heard of survival of the fittest, that's exactly what it is. It means survival is the exception, not the rule. And curiously, that's kind of how innovation is too. You make lots and lots and lots of attempts, and then a few of them get through, and then translate to something really big. To become the person that does that, you need the qualities of someone that can handle that. You need resilience, you need perseverance. And no wonder a lot of people that have made it to the other side and tell their success stories are people who have cultivated the kind of resilience that is required. Then it also helps to cultivate a growth mindset. You need to believe that these things can be developed. They're not innate. They're not necessarily things that do. In fact, like we said earlier, it could be that you had them as a child and then you unlearned them because adults somehow flogged it out of you. But the fact that you had it in the first place means it could still be there. We all have it. We all have that quality lurking somewhere inside us. It just requires focus and hard work and dedication. Or with that, we can go through the difficulties, the obstacles we're very definitely going to face, and then we just keep getting better at it. We'll build the muscle, the stamina, the kind of personality that is required to go the distance. It's like climbing a mountain. You can't do it by fluke. You can't do it by error. Nobody ever climbs the top of a Mount Everest by just finding himself there. And oftentimes, most of the people that make it to the peak have made several attempts in the past. So, I mean, like, these are common things that we see every day. Now, I'm choosing to talk from a personal perspective, even though there's lots of material, technical material. Like I have had to sit through classrooms and learn about innovation from a professional perspective. However, I can tell you one thing. It's about the person more than it is about just the ideas. It is really about the person. Collaboration and networking. One of the things we are doing here is sharing ideas. And anybody that has this kind of habit where you share, you connect with others, like minds, you learn from each other, like we're here to learn from each other. These are some of the things that can help fuel collaboration. Now, networking doesn't necessarily mean you have to go and hold somebody by the hand and look in the eye. No, it's about sharing ideas. When you share ideas in space, that means you meet people in real time and you share ideas with them. That's the modern definition of networking. But there's networking at the grander scale, networking through time. Whenever you pick up a book that was written by somebody that's long dead, 1,000 years ago, you're actually networking. Your brain is somehow connecting with his brain, and you're understanding things from their perspective. So networking, it's about curiosity, but curiosity about what others are thinking. Now, it's possible to entertain somebody else's thoughts in your head without embracing it, without accepting it. Networking is the ability to listen to somebody and appreciate what that person is saying without feeling like you're being indoctrinated by the other person. Like what we're doing now, some of the things I might say here that you may not agree with, but your ability to listen, to digest it and understand, and then to select the things that you want to carry away. It's one of the things that makes very good, effective network. You're going to meet all kinds of people. We all meet all kinds of people every day. And you meet people with agendas. You meet people that want to sell you something, want to tell you something, want to share something with you. And oftentimes, they might have their own reasons that might not align, with your own interests. However, you can still listen to them. You always leave better from these kind of meetings, which is why people who find ways of interacting a lot tend to be better for it. If you see a student who is a loner, you'll find out that he goes through a lot more effort to get somewhere than one who is sociable, and not just sociable, but intentionally so, deliberately so. And the same thing, by the time you graduate beyond school and you begin to interact with colleagues. Hello, please, someone confirm you can hear me. I just had the sound disconnected.
Yes, we can hear you, Longrin.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so when you interact with colleagues and so on, you share some of the challenges you have at work. You get their perspective on things. Even though you have an idea what you want to do, you still want to discuss it with someone else because you want to get another perspective. That's networking, but that's networking in space. Like right now, you could harness the wisdom of many that are long gone through books, through literature, through content online, like videos, audiobooks, sometimes even works of art, works of fiction. The limits are endless. Now, I'm talking to people who I believe share a passion for wanting to bring about change, positive change through innovation. And believe me, we really need it. We really need it here in Africa. You know how we always complain about how things are not going the way we want. One thing I wish we would do a lot more of is to own the challenges and not think of other people's solutions as ours. I mean, like we're constantly getting all kinds of innovation out there in the world, and oftentimes you wonder how you want to apply here effectively, you know. But if you think from the fundamentals, the kind of conversation I want us to have today is to not just think in terms of what's been established when it's already known that this thing works, and it's not innovation anymore. Innovation comes when there's some kind of challenge that needs to be solved. There's kind of problem that needs to be fixed, and you come up with radical ideas to fix it. Now, of course, there are other kinds of innovation, like incremental innovation, but I don't want to go into textbook stuff. I'm just talking about progress and possibilities and finding ways to just make progress using what you have. By my own definition, innovation is using what you have to get what you want. So even what you have is small, there's no excuse. The question is, what can you make with it? Well, you need to build on a strong foundation. There is a science to innovation, actually. It's not wishful thinking. Um, Wishful thinking can only take you so far. Think of it, some of the things that we've been able to do on our own without making too much effort. Think of the whole history of mankind. We were building houses with mud, for example, or we could climb trees, we would build houses. And the tallest structures we've ever built were probably like the pyramids in Egypt. What we do today when we build skyscrapers that are over 100 stories tall cannot be by accident, cannot be a fluke. There is a science to it. There are fundamental, there are laws of nature that you need to overcome, you need to work with, not not to wish away. You know, our ability to fly across the oceans, for example, would never have come to fruition if all we did was sit down and wish we could fly or fly in the night like witches, like some people would would say that is probably happening. But I don't think it's ever happening anywhere. The only way you can fly across halfway across the world in a matter of hours, less than a day, is because you're built upon a strong foundation that has been laid many, many years ago. And that's the challenge that we have today. You may be able to build a hut or build a tree house at best, but you can't ever build a skyscraper with wishful thinking. Not talk of going to space or putting satellites in space for telecommunications. So it's important. This is where your education comes in. As much as we won't want this to be a classroom thing or textbook kind of presentation, the textbooks count, okay? They're important. There are principles in science and in nature that we need to master so that we could take things and repurpose them into something else. Most of the technologies that exist today wouldn't exist if not because of the mastery of the laws of nature. So we need to understand that. In fact, a good innovator needs to immerse knowledge. In fact, not just any kind of knowledge, deep, deep understanding, deep knowledge. It's vital. If you really want to be an innovator, you want to embrace that. You want to embrace innovation. It's something you must do. And stay informed as well about developments that are happening around you. When we were in school, in the university back in the day, we're studying curriculum from at least 10 or 15 years in the past. At the time I was in the university, well, the internet was just beginning to spread, you know. So among the lucky generation, well, the early ones. But before then, we had to go through old library books, you know, and they're highly limited. We would spend a lot of time trying to do assignments. Sometimes one person would borrow a book and we'll all be looking for it. Or we'll wait in line just to get one textbook. But today, it's everywhere. In fact, knowledge is just so ubiquitous these days that's now a problem. That you now have too much knowledge that's probably unvetted and all that. Your problem today is just how to check your sources rather than whether you want to get knowledge. And let me just say information, all right? Because information is not the same as knowledge. There's too much information out there. But what you need is knowledge. You need deep knowledge that leads to an understanding. And that's the kind of foundation we need. And frankly, if you get it wrong, you could just get misled. And you need to be able to test your knowledge. So I would advise that you test yourself. When you learn something, put yourself to the test. Either test it by creating it and putting a prototype out there, or subject yourself to some authority that would certify you. That's where certifications actually, mean something. A certification is simply saying, hey, this person spent a lot of time and demonstrated a certain minimum understanding of something. It does not in any way say you're a master. It says that you are at the very least proficient enough. Most certification exams will require to score, say, 70% pass mark, all right? It means that there's still a 30% failure. So forget it that you pass an exam. It's not enough. To be an innovator, you need to go beyond just that. You need to immerse yourself. You need to deepen your understanding of vital principles of nature. And then from that, you can just keep building on it. You build on knowledge. Think of knowledge as a tree with your roots deep into the ground where you get nourishment. You grow by taking all your nourishment and passing it from through the stem and to the branches, into the twigs, then to the leaves. And with every field of knowledge that you begin to explore, it's like a branch that grows in its own, and then it could actually bear its own fruits for you. And the older you get, the better it gets. The only limitation you have is aging, and maybe you grow senile someday. But you're definitely going to contribute something. And with more knowledge, it means you are now reducing the chances of making mistakes. Because the more failures you make, the less failures you're likely to make in the future. The reason we go to school for all these years is so that we master failure. A lot of people probably don't see it that way. Part of the idea behind writing exams is to create an environment where you can fail safely. We have graduated to using simulations. Imagine training a medical student without dead bodies for them to dissect and play with. Any mistake, any cut in the wrong place could be a major artery. Or imagine training a pilot without flight simulators. Then every mistake will be a catastrophic failure that costs lives. But pilots and surgeons and even engineers spend many, many years trying to understand very, very deeply rooted principles of nature that a lot of people, frankly, would say today that there's really no point learning that. How many people use the knowledge they gain from universities? I laugh when I hear that. The chances are they're not working as the professionals, maybe not in that capacity. In China, engineers get executed if there's a building collapse. In Nigeria, building collapse happen every other day. All right. So there's no wishful thinking to it. There's no way around it. We have to just give ourselves up to knowledge, to deepening our understanding of nature. There's no shortcut for that one. It is our scaffolding. We use it to climb, to build whatever we want to build, and to encourage our creativity as well as our curiosity, because with more knowledge comes more curiosity. And with more knowledge comes more hunger for more knowledge. And with more hunger comes more knowledge. Knowledge grows exponentially. The more you have it, the more you can have it. Think of it as a tree. The more leaves the tree has, the more nourishment it can get from the sun. And therefore, the more it can tap from the ground, the more it can convert to energy. Stay informed and connected. Okay, I think time is running fast, so I'm going to try to rush through the remaining slides. Stay informed is crucial for innovation. It helps you to identify gaps and also opportunities. So I think we mentioned this before. Follow industry news, read research papers, attend conferences like what we're doing right here, engage with online communities, set aside some time for creativity. Yeah, it's another tip. Dedicate regular time for brainstorming. It's very, very important. It's good for flexing our brain muscles, bouncing ideas off friends and colleagues. Then create an industry conducive environment. Where I work is an example because we try to nurture innovation. The space is designed to actually create that conducive environment. Perhaps one day, maybe some of you may pay us a visit, one reason or another, but it's something that we do intentionally. Choose a location that inspires creativity. You can do all of these things in your own way. You don't need a big budget, but the payoff is usually good. It's worth it. Find inspiring spaces, quiet corners in libraries, lively cafes. Keep a journal. It's good. Ideas are valuable things. When one comes to your place, put it down. Chances are you could forget the next minute, especially if you have a very fertile mind. And trust me, it will come in handy, even if it's not for you alone. Somebody else could find it useful. Capture spontaneous ideas. I've had ideas come to me while I'm sleeping, sometimes in dreams. I'll wake up, get a sheet of paper, write it down, or just use my phone and leave a voice note. Review regularly, identify recurring patterns, spot potential areas for innovation, connect unrelated dots, find connections between different ideas, just make it a habit. This is also part of your training if you are to formally train as an innovation professional. Prototype and tests. Yeah, so when you're working with ideas, it helps to test them. Test them against nature, test them against principles upon which they operate on. Create sketches, digital models, and working prototypes. For those of you who are very handy, or good with your hands, always try. I mean, like, and the flaws, identify them early, and fix them, make the necessary adjustments, then iterate the process. It is a continuous process. You could iterate the same idea over 100 times, doesn't matter. What matters is where you're heading. Stay persistent. Innovation is a continuous journey. It requires persistence and experimentation. Your goal should always be in sight. It helps. And then the importance of celebrating small victories. Yes, you need to identify them. You need to recognize a small victory when you see one. It's important so that you can celebrate it. It tells you you're onto something and it motivates you. Seek feedback. Yeah, this is also very, very important. Okay, and you can share your ideas, whatever it is you're working with various audiences. Don't stay locked up. Reach out, seek out mentors who are more experienced than you in a certain field. And there are certain things that have already been done. You don't think that you're the only person that is getting some ideas. There are some ideas, like in engineering, there's the concept of a perpetual motion machine. Sorry, I don't want to go into technical things, but it's just the example that's important. Now, the second law of thermodynamics proves that that thing is impossible, all right? Now, a lot of people will come up with this crazy idea and say, oh, they have a way of solving that. When you're armed with this knowledge, then you already know that this is something that has happened before. But this person that's having that light bulb moment might not have even learned that somebody else has done that before. And it is so time consuming. I can assure you, people have wasted whole lifetimes chasing those kinds of ideas. And at the end, it gets thrown away because it's not built on firm foundation. The principles are wrong. That's where you need experienced people. And if they are not people that you could find them, like I said, in books or in online or wherever you can. Then there are professionals in every industry that you can latch onto that have really worked hard. You can get them as coaches. You could subscribe to certain journals or something, industry watching magazines and so on, and get insights from them. Then you should value constructive feedback. It really, really helps, right? Try to not go for wishful thinking. I mean, like, it's not just like, oh, you say it, you close your eyes very tight and then it happens. No. Then be open to criticism. Use honest feedback to improve your ideas. And be wary too of people who might want to sidetrack you. So honest feedback is not necessarily ridicule, but just be wary. So everything you're going to is going to get towards the end product, and that's the actual impact of whatever it is you're doing. And it's innovative. It has huge impact on lives. I mean, like, imagine what's going on today with AI, with the internet. Each of these have been massive. They brought massive development to the whole world. You won't believe this, but we're actually one of the most privileged generation of human beings that ever lived. The advancement in medicine, for example, never been as it is today. Even you might think that war is still happening. Well, we don't even have wars like we used to. There's a time when you couldn't travel across countries because there's always one village or the other that is fighting each other. And you need to learn to speak one language or the other, or you'll be killed along the way. So the world wouldn't be where it is today without innovation. You know. So final thoughts. Adopting a mindset of innovation is to value curiosity, resilience, and continuous learning, to be open to new possibilities and be daring to take risks. Then seizing opportunities is collaborating with others, never stop learning. Then shaping the future. Innovation gives us the power to shape the future. So with that, I say thank you for listening. And that's the end of my presentation.